anybody that supports Sharia law in this country should be deported.
So do you know what Sharia law is?
Yes, but it does not have
Do you know
rights.
what it is? Me praying five
Sharia law.
Of course, me praying 5 times a day is Sharia.
Okay.
Right? Like basic.
What about the equal rights for women? What about
that is completely separate from Islam.
So now you can be a Sharia law supporter and be half pregnant at the same time.
What are you talking about? You are talking about stuff you don't know anything about. Like, okay, I'm not going to attack you personally. But my frustration is that people talk about Islam without knowing anything about it. And they're willing to completely negate any of my rights as a human being, as a woman, as a person with agency, simply because they have an idea about what my faith is about. Excuse me, Islam to me is the most feminist religion, right? We got equal rights well before the Europeans. We don't take our husbands' last names because we ain't their property. Right? We were given the right to own land. We the fact is, what is culture is separate from what is faith. And the fact that people go around dissing my faith without knowing anything about it and want to chuck me out of a country I have done, and Muslims. The fact is, Jackie, I agree.
The fact is, we have one law in this country, and it is the Australian law. It is not Sharia law.
In Islam.
Not in this country.
So let's look. So this is a common tactic. When you are afraid of Sharia law, a lot of people say you don't understand what Sharia law is, and then they will tell you some things that Sharia law covers that is not very dangerous, right? So, and I don't know why that trick works, because if I say, okay, here's a book, and this is a dangerous book because it tells you to kill people, it tells you to RIPE, like these people, it tells you that genocide is okay, and it also tells you to make sure you feed your dog, the food that you give your dogs is not too salty, and that onions, make sure that there's no onions in the food that you give your dogs, because onions are not good for your dogs, right? But it was also promoting genocide. It was also promoting RAPE. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there. And like, okay, this seems like a dangerous, disgusting, backward book that we should raise awareness about. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then somebody who wants to defend this book will say, like, what are you talking about? You don't understand this book. Look, this book also includes this advice that not to give your dogs onions. That is true. What do you have a problem with that? Like, okay, I don't have a problem with that part, but why are you just highlighting that? Like, there's a whole bunch of other parts that is included in this book that I have a problem with. Like, yeah, you don't understand this book. This book is not violent. It's just giving you good tips about how to be a good pet owner. Like, dude, like the other parts. So that's her defense for Sharia, is that Sharia includes, so guys, Sharia is Islamic laws, but also not just laws, Islamic, all rules, both personally in your private life and publicly, and governance. So it's not Islamic law, it's not just Islamic law, it's like Islamic law, guidance, it's all encompassing. Everything you're supposed to do, including how to wipe your ass. Like, I'm not kidding, including that. Okay, including what to do if you want to wipe your ass and you don't have water. It has that in there. So Sharia means, like, Sharia includes the hadith, the Sunnah of Muhammad, that he picked up stones. I'm not kidding. This is actually so true. He picks up like rocks in the desert to wipe his ass because there's no water. That's also Sharia. And it's also part of Sharia not to use bones to wipe your ass, because Muhammad is so kind that he cares about demons and jinns, basically. And if you pick bones to wipe your ass, that's demon food. Demons eat that. So you shouldn't wipe your ass with bones in the desert, because that's their food. Okay, so this is also Sharia. So yes, Sharia includes a whole bunch of nonsense. Not all of them absolutely directly dangerous, right? But why are you highlighting that part and not the rest? Okay, so let's listen to this line by line and respond to this. Like, oh, you don't know what Sharia is? Sharia means like me praying 5 times a day. Yeah, okay, that's not the part that we are highlighting here. We're highlighting the other parts. Do you deny that Sharia includes a whole bunch of other things that I'm going to show you? I'm going to show you what other things Sharia includes. Okay. By the way, I want to just make sure that I include this other hadith. Messenger of no prostrating themselves before you. So tell me, if you were to pass my grave, would you? Nope, that's not the one. Oh yeah, I found it. Okay, yes, I found it. Okay, so because the feminism part. So let's respond to this line by line. I have really good responses to this.
Anybody that supports Sharia law in this country should be deported.
So do you know what Sharia law is?
Yes, but it doesn't.
By the way, by the way, this lady, I know she's like mixing, knows a lot about Sharia law. This other lady, and she knows the problems with it. But everybody who supports Sharia law should be deported. How, lady? Can you explain to me? I know a lot of people say this. Can you explain to me how are you going to deport UK citizens if they support Sharia law? Like, I know that sounds amazing to say, and people are like, yeah, deport people who support Sharia law. But you live in La La Land. That, like, you live in a dream world. That's not going to happen to UK citizens. Like, why are people giving us solutions that we know it will be impossible? That will never happen. Like, what is this? Why are people constantly celebrating solution that will never work? Can we come into the real world and talk about how we could actually fix things? How are you going to deport all these Muslims who support Sharia law and who are UK citizens? That will never happen. Stop living in a fantasy world that, you know, and giving us solutions that is not going to happen. Anyway, so let's listen.
Support Sharia law in this country should be deported.
So do you know what Sharia law is?
Yes, but it doesn't.
What, do you know what it is?
Me praying 5 Sharia law?
Of course, me praying 5 times a day is Sharia.
Okay, me praying 5 times is Sharia. Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree with her. You praying 5 times a day, that's Sharia. That's part of Sharia. But it's also this. I specifically will choose this one to show you first because it's talking about me. It's talking about me. Okay? It says, this is Muhammad. Okay? It's specifically mentioned. It should have put my picture here. Why is this not? Why when I zoom in? Okay, here. It says, the messenger of Allah said, whoever changes his religion, kill him. So I was a Muslim. He's talking about me. I was a Muslim. Now I'm not. And this is, I picked one because this is very short and to the point. And again, it's Sahih. It's a Sahih hadith. So you cannot deny that this is part of Islam. Okay. Muhammad said, whoever changes his religion, kill him. This is Sharia. This is Sharia. This is also Sharia. What that lady said is Sharia, true, but this is also Sharia. Is that lady going to come tell me that this is not Sharia? Is she going to deny that Sahih Hadith? Is she going to stand against Sahih Hadith? No, I think not. I think not. So, do you want to see more Sharia, guys? Oh, this one is also about me. Because they're talking, this is about atheists. Yeah, I want to make sure that, so yeah, the protection money, like, oh, Sharia law protects non-Muslims. If anybody harms them, you know, the Muslim community will execute them if somebody kills a non-Muslim. Well, that's, you know, maybe you Jews and Christians will get that protection. But let's look at the hadith about me, which is an atheist. So, hold on, look at this. Some atheists were brought to Ali. This is Imam Ali, the 4th Khalifa of Sunnis, or the first Imam of Shias, right? And he burns them. Okay, just like, okay. He burned them alive. The news of this event reached Ibn Abbas, who said, if I had been in his place, I would have not burned them as Allah's messenger. Oh, guys, look, Islam is actually showing some mercy. It's like, oh, I would like, Allah's messenger would not burn atheists. Why did Ali burn atheists? Okay, so guys, there's a silver lining here. It seems like there's some, look at this. This is good. This is a hadith that should, like, we shouldn't have burned them. So let's see what Allah's messengers has said. Allah's messengers forbade it, saying, do not punish anybody with Allah's punishment fire. I would have killed them according to the statement of Allah's messenger. Whoever changed his Islamic religion, then killed them. Okay, so sorry, I spoke too soon. The problem was not that he killed them. The problem was that he killed them with fire. And the killing with fire should be reserved, like punishing with fire, should have only be reserved for Allah, given that we are punished in hellfire by Allah. Our Muslims should not use Allah's punishment. They should have like Ali should have beheaded them. So the disagreement was not with the fact that they killed atheists. The disagreement is over the methodology. So the fire should be left for Allah alone. So apparently, so this is also Sharia. Lady, when she's shouting like Sharia is just praying 5 times a day. True. This is also Sharia, and this is also Sharia. Again, this is the guys. This is Sahih Bukhari. Oh, what was the other one that we showed? That was also Sahih Bukhari. So this is part of Islam, right? And also this is also referring to whoever changes. So guys, this hadith that I showed you is referring to me twice, because it's referring to atheists at the top, and it's referring to people who change their religion should kill them. So this is referring to murtad or apostates. So I'm both an atheist and an apostate. So this is double me. So now let's look at this one, saying Allah's messenger, meaning Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi, said, the blood of a Muslim who confesses that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that I am his apostle, cannot be shed except in these 3 cases. So basically, all of this means that whoever is or has ever been a Muslim, you cannot shed their blood unless there are only 3 cases where you could actually kill a Muslims, right? Qisas for murder. So if that Muslim kills another Muslim, you could basically take their life in response, just blood money, right? Like blood payment, a married person who commits illegal sexual intercourse. So guys, again, this is also Sharia law. All of you people who have been having sex out of marriage, Islam teaches you that you're supposed to die. Okay? You're supposed to be killed for having sex outside of marriage. Illegal sexual intercourse. So this is also Sharia. And then it says, and again, here's another reference again to me. And the one who reverts from Islam, meaning apostate, and leaves the Muslims, right? So yeah, this is also Sharia, lady. This is also Sharia. So let's bring her back. Look at this. Like, you people who criticize Sharia, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I showed you what Muhammad said. This is what your prophet has said. That's Sharia. Sharia comes from the Sunnah of your prophet, from the Hadith. That is Sharia. So who doesn't understand? Do we not understand Islam? Do we not understand Sharia? I brought you directly to the source. But yeah, these people do not understand Sharia.
Me praying 5 times a day is Sharia.
Okay.
Right? Like basic.
What about the equal rights for women? What about
is completely separate from
so now you can be a Sharia law supporter and be half pregnant at the same time.
What are you talking about? You were talking about stuff you don't know anything about. Like, okay, I'm not.
Lady, you do know what you're talking about. Okay, I understand. Come, I'll teach you about Islam. I'll show you this hadith. I don't know. Have you seen this hadith? Are you lying? Are you not aware of these things that I'm showing you here?
To attack you personally. But my frustration is that people talk about Islam without knowing anything about it, and they're willing to.
How do you know? Like, I just showed you that I do know about
completely negate any of my rights as a human being, as a woman, as a person with agency, simply because they have an idea about what my faith is about.
Okay, no, we don't want to take your rights or agency away from you. In fact, we want to give you rights and agency. That's why we're anti-Islam. Islam is the one that takes the agency away from women. Islam teaches you that a woman has to submit completely to her husband with no agency. Okay, like this is freaking bullshit. Okay, I mean, come on. Let me actually bring the Quranic verse, because this is so nonsense. Like, yes, actually, as liberals, we will give you agency as a woman, okay? Because that's what liberalism is. That's not what Islam is. People who want to take away my agency away from me. No. In fact, we want to free you from Islam so that you could have more agency.
Person with agency.
I'm more freedom.
Simply because they have an idea about what my faith is about. Excuse me, Islam to me is the most feminist religion, right?
Okay, Islam is the most feminist religion. Let's see. Bull crap. Nonsense. Yes, okay, let me show you Quran. You know which one I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to give you a Quranic verse and a hadith. This Quranic verse, I think most of you have seen it, is Quran chapter 4, verse 34. It says, men are caretakers of women. Actually, this is Sahih International. Most of the time it says that, you know, hold on, let me actually show you Sahih International. This is, let me bring translation that is mostly the accurate. You know, the translations I like is Pictal International, sometimes whitewashes it. This Halim guy is also very good, right? Yeah, this is the actual translation. Okay, so Sahih International is the main one people go to, even though it whitewashes it. This is the actual proper translation. So men are in charge of women by the rights of what Allah has given over one over the other, right? and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient. Oh, look at this. She's talking about agency. Look at, guys, is this a feminist ideology? Tell me, is this feminist ideology? So first of all, it says men are in charge of women. And if you actually read the Arabic, this is the actual translation, the correct translation. Men are in charge of women. So this does not sound like feminist to me. And also says righteous women are devoutly obedient to their husbands, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. Okay. So again, this is funny because she's talking about agency and saying that wives should be devoutly obedient to their husband. This is actually taking agency away from women, in my opinion. And then it says, but those wives from whom you fear arrogance. Okay. Again, arrogance here is, I think, if you actually look at the Arabic, it's like the actual translation is disobedience. So those wives of you who, not the ones who are disobeying you, but the ones that you fear arrogance or disobedience. Like even if they're not being arrogant or disobedient, but you're just fearing it, like even before they actually become disobedient. So for those wives that you fear disobedience, there you have to take a 3-step solution to that. Step 1 is advise them, basically talk to them. Step 2, if they persist, forsake them in dead. Basically, kick them out of your bed. Like they will have to go, I don't know, sleep on the couch or like on the floor or somewhere else, right? And then finally, if that still doesn't work, strike them. Strike them. Hit them. Oh, by the way, you see here it says hit them lightly. This is bullshit because the lightly is not in the Arabic text. If you see the brackets, brackets means it wasn't in the actual Arabic text. So if you look at the Arabic text, it's very important for you to notice the lightly is not. I mean, even if the lightly was there, still you're hitting your wife. So that's insane. So if you see, this is the verb azrabahunna, va'azrabahunna. So you can see this one. It says fil bed, you know, kick them out of your bed, and then va mean and azrabahunna, strike them, and then this then if. You see, there's no lightly in the Arabic text. This bracket is something that the translator decided to add to make this verse sound more, you know, more acceptable. And then it says, but if they obey you once more, so if they become obedient, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. Okay, so that doesn't sound feminist to me at all. It's telling you that men are in charge of women and women should obey their husbands. And if they don't obey, you should take measures. And if they still don't obey, you should beat them. You should beat your wives. So yeah, wow, the most feminist ideology in the world. So most of you, I think a lot of you who follow this channel have seen that verse again, talking about, like, think about it, talking about agency. No religion takes away woman agency away as much as Islam. But here's another hadith that a lot of you haven't seen. This last part of this hadith says, I don't want to read the whole hadith. You could like pause and read the whole thing if you want. Okay. But this is also a hadith that a lot of people talk about. Look at this. You can see the source of this hadith. But Muhammad in this hadith says, if I were to command anybody to make a prostration before another, so in Islam, you're not supposed to prostrate in front of anything except Allah. Allah is the only, you need to bow down to sajda to Allah and nothing else, nobody else, no human, no idol, no king, no emperor, only Allah. But Muhammad said, if I was going to make anybody, if I were to command anybody to make prostration before another, I would command women to prostrate themselves before their husbands. because of the special right over them given to husbands by Allah. So it's like if there was supposed to be any form of frustration of human to human, it should have been wives towards their husband. So that's Islamic hadith, and again, this coming from the most feminist ideology in the world. Okay, so you're like, yeah, you don't understand Sharia. Well, lady, you don't understand Sharia.
Excuse me, Islam to me is the most feminist religion, right? We got equal rights well before the Europeans. We don't take our husband's last
equal rights. The Quranic verse that I showed you, did that sound like equal rights to you? My lady, you're a Muslim? Have you read the Quran?
Because we ain't their property, right? We were given the right to own land.
I mean, technically, you're right. They're not there. So here's the thing: in wives in Islam, let's be fair here. Wives in Islam are not considered property to their husbands. Okay, a lot of the treatment that they get are similar to how you would treat slaves, but technically they are not property. And that's one of the purpose of hijab is to separate your wives from your slaves. Your slaves are supposed to be your property, and the slaves are not supposed to wear the hijab. Your sex slaves, the female slaves, right? Your wives will wear the hijab so that they're considered your wives, not your slaves, not your property, right? Even though there are many similarities, unfortunately, in Islam about how you treat your wife to your slaves, but technically they're not your property. But actually, people are like, okay, so she's right about that. But the problem with this is that actually saying this exposes how disgusting Islam is, not just in the sense that, well, some of the treatment of your wife is like the treatment that you have that is usually associated with treatment of slaves, but the fact that Islam has that this like separates your wives from your property, from your sex slaves, actually it's a reminder that there are sex slaves in Islam. Okay, like no, your wives are not your property. They're treated differently than your property, than your sex slave. Like, oh, okay, so thank you for confirming that you have humans as property in Islam. Okay,
we can like the fact,
because like when you say property, like they're not a property in the sense that you cannot sell them, you cannot buy them, you cannot trade them in the market, in the bazaar, but you could do that with your slaves, right? Like you could treat them like a commodity. But again, in Islam they have that.
is what is culture is separate from what is faith, and the fact that people go around dissing.
Yeah, the Quran is faith. I will show you I'm not criticizing. In fact, let me tell you something. Okay, Arab culture is superior to Islam. You say like, oh, we should separate faith from culture. Okay, you guys, the things that you have a problem with, the way people treat a woman, that's culture. No, lady, Arab culture is actually part of the culture that is a problem is Islam. If you remove everything that is Islamic, what is remained of Arab culture is actually beautiful. In fact, Arab culture was very beautiful before Islam came to Arabia and ruined everything. Like, go look at everything with Arab culture. Most things with Arab culture that has nothing to do with Islam, their music, their traditions, their art, and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so we do know how to separate culture from religion, and the problem is actually the religion. I showed you this is in the Quran. I didn't show Arabs behaving badly. I showed you your faith, not Arab culture, not any culture of, like, I don't know, other Muslim communities.